We've all heard of the 7 wonders of the world. Did you know that there are 7 wonders right here in South Carolina? A recent expedition just wrapped up aimed at showcasing the Palmetto State's natural beauty while raising awareness of devastating flooding. Well, joining us is Major General Tom Mullikin. He's the chairman of the South Carolina Floodwater Commission and director of the SC7 Expedition. Sir, first of all, thank you for your service.
Thank you, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you. And this expedition sounds fascinating. Why don't you take us on a journey? Where did you visit?
Oh, we visited some of the most beautiful places on earth right here in the Palmetto State. We started up on the Chattooga River. We rafted the Chattooga River, and then we hiked over to the Jocassee Gorge, which is one of the last 50 great places on earth, according to National Geographic.
Is that right? Why is that?
It's just incredibly beautiful. Connected, it's a very large area of our state, been set aside for people to enjoy. Includes part of the Appalachia, the oldest mountain range on earth.
Wow.
And it just is, it's an area that people really need to see. It's not only for its natural beauty, but also demonstrating what public-private sectors can do when they're working together collaboratively to begin to set aside some of these most beautiful places.
Now, you're dropping some knowledge on me here, because I did not know that the Appalachians were the oldest mountain range on the planet. That's fascinating, and it's right here in our backyard.
I have spent the last 40 years, I've summited about 25 of the highest mountains on earth, and we've got scuba dives in all the world's oceans, and I've gotten to the 4th quarter of my life and realized that all this time that I've spent away from South Carolina was just a shame, because right here in our backyard are some of the most beautiful places on earth. We bookended this SC7 with the Jocassee Gorge and the Ace Basin, and those are 2 of the places that are listed as some of the greatest places on earth by National Geographic.
That's fascinating. And you, sir, you are an adventurer. So you have traversed this planet all over. You've scaled some of the tallest peaks. You've done incredible things. You're also an award-winning film producer. You are an author. You are an environmental attorney. You seem to do it all, Major General. But this is also to raise awareness for something very important for folks here in South Carolina, and that is related to the flooding issues. Maybe you can tap into that just a little bit.
In 2018, when our great governor, Henry Master, created the South Carolina Floodwater Commission, one very important part to him was inviting the public into this conversation. For the most part, this idea of amplified global climate change has been driven by 2 extreme voices and a lot of vitriol. A whole lot of heat, but not much light had been shed on it. And he wanted to create a conversation that brought South Carolinians in, because he understood what is very clear to many of us, that conservation is a part of the DNA of the state. And so we did a number of things. We created 10 task forces, and just this year we planted 3.4 million trees on one day, the largest single tree planting in the history of the country, one of the largest in the world. And so why trees? One mature tree absorbs 11,000 gallons of water annually. So we're doing those things that create natural resiliencies. And as part of it, we wanted to give the public the greatest opportunity to participate. Even after we published our 400-page report and gave it to the governor, he said, "Tomcat, get the band back together. We're just getting started." And he wanted to get South Carolina families involved.
Yeah.
And I thought, what better way to do that than to walk from the mountains to the sea and have fireside chats every night and allow people in most of the state an opportunity to come out and share their ideas on resiliency strategies and how flooding had impacted them and their communities.
I think that's wonderful. In this journey, this adventure, this expedition, it took you 1 month to complete, and you've met some really interesting people along the way. I also want to get to the documentary Higher Ground. We do need to take a break, so why don't we talk about that after this? Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. We've been chatting with Major General Tom Mullikin on an incredible adventure right here in the Palmetto State in South Carolina. You discovered 7 wonders of the state, and this is all part of raising awareness of flooding and things that we need to do to better protect our environment, which South Carolina is home to some of the most unique ecosystems on the planet. Maybe you can also take us beyond some of the mountainous regions and where else you discovered, and maybe one particular place that you think we should all go and visit someday.
So I'll tell you, if you want to see some of the most beautiful waterfalls on earth, go to Jones Gap and go to Rainbow Falls. Hike up to Rainbow Falls, because it rivals anything that I've seen anywhere on earth, on any continent. If you want to see some of the prettiest bottomland, go to the Congaree National Park. If you want to see the longest Black River in North America and have a slow, easy kayak trip, go down the Edisto River. We have people, our beaches are famous, but there's a lot beyond the beaches. And it's no surprise that when the early European settlers came, this was the prize of all of it, is South Carolina, because we really do have some of the most beautiful places. Oconee County in the golden corner of South Carolina, with the mountains and the state parks up in that area, it's just unbelievable. The Blue Ridge, Smoky Mountains, and what you see is it's almost beyond description. So I really can't exaggerate it.
Major General, I'm sold. And it's true, South Carolina has unique beauty that is truly different from other places in this country, and it would behoove us all to go and check them out. I want to touch on Higher Ground, a documentary that I think we can read into what it's about, but maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what it is and the message that you're trying to get across with this.
Higher Ground was really about raising the conversation. Most of the work that I've done around the world is crisis management, and people have asked me, how do you bring these diverse groups together and get them to communicate? And the truth is, the work that I've done is not about bringing people together on a continuum in a linear way, but lifting them to higher ground, because we share a whole lot more in common than our differences. And I think that what we've seen is, as we've gotten out, Higher Ground is a little bit of play because of flooding, but Higher Ground is really about the conversation. Over the last few decades, we've built a large compendium of natural science around some of the manifestations of global climate change. But what we haven't done is built a lot of social science and social conviction around doing those things that will allow us to address these underlying issues.
Yeah.
And so what we've seen is, as we bring people into this conversation and we allow them to offer their perspective, we've seen people become very passionate about getting engaged, whether it's helping us build an artificial reef off the coast, rebuilding the kidney off our coast, cleaning up the ditches and creeks and culverts that obstruct the natural flow. We had over 120,000 volunteers on Earth Day this year, helping us plant 3.4 million trees. So what we've simply done is allowed people to come in, to embrace their perspectives, and allow them to participate in what we're doing, which is simply cleaning the Lord's garden that we've been given as stewards. And so it's been a very rewarding process.
And taking ownership as well, taking ownership for the place in which we live and have the privilege of living. Major General, thank you so much for joining us. So this was your second such expedition. What's next for the SC7?
SC7 will begin again on July 1st, 2022. And on 2022, you can write this down. People said we wouldn't make the national record on planting trees. We'll have the largest group hike in the history of the country on July 1. 2 weeks later, we'll have the largest cleanup, litter cleanup in the history of the country. And we will end off our coast with the largest artificial reef planting in the history of the world, where we'll have 1,000 divers dropping artificial reefs so that we can rebuild the reef off our coast. It will help rebuild the kidney, will help grow marine life, and will also begin to address wave attenuation and storm surge. We not only live in the most beautiful place on earth, but we have some of the best people on earth And we can be the best in the world.
I love
and
it.
we're going to again demonstrate it. SC7 2022.
Major General, thank you so much. It's going to be fascinating, a very exciting year ahead. Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Thank you for your time.
We're back after this.